Britain's Prime Minister has unleashed fresh fury in the UK by asking the Queen to suspend Parliament for 5 weeks. The Queen promptly approved. Here's what this means. The first thing to know is there is nothing abnormal about bringing Parliament to a temporary close. Prorogation, as it's formally called, happens every fall. But what is abnormal is if the Prime Minister is doing this strategically to prevent Parliament from interfering with his or her plans. And that's exactly what critics say this PM is trying to do.
Suspending Parliament is not acceptable, it's not on.
This is an outrageous power grab.
You know, that's the kind of behaviour you expect to see in countries that are not democratic.
The timing of Johnson's decision is deeply controversial. Members of Parliament from across the divides have accused him of trying to shut down Parliament, specifically so he can force through a no-deal Brexit. MPs in the House of Commons have voted this down, but Johnson rejects these claims. And those sympathetic to the Prime Minister's decision say this is all about putting forward a new domestic agenda and that this session of Parliament has gone on for too long. On the latter point, many parliamentarians might agree. The current session has been the longest in several hundred years. But the suspension that Johnson is proposing will be the longest in decades and will end just short of the Brexit deadline on October 31st. So it's this proximity to the Halloween Brexit deadline that makes the decision so deeply unpopular. The Speaker of Parliament, John Bercow, called Johnson's move a constitutional outrage. But this is where things get really murky. Britain doesn't have an actual written constitution. Instead, governance relies on precedent. Now, this works when things are normal, relatively speaking of course, but apparently not so well when British politics enters uncharted waters. So now the rules are being tested, and it's not always clear exactly who's in charge. It's the norm for the monarchy to stay out of politics, and being drawn into the Brexit malaise could threaten its long-term survival by stirring up Republican sentiment. For this reason, it's unlikely the Queen would have said no to the request of a Prime Minister to prorogue Parliament. What's for sure, Johnson will not get his way without a backlash. An online parliamentary petition against the move is soaring into the hundreds of thousands, but that's unlikely to have any impact. MPs, meanwhile, are hoping legal action will stop Johnson in his tracks.